press conference and issue a statement from the National Cereals and Produce Board. His subsequent closure of the factory and declaration of it as a crime scene due to the company's refusal to participate in the staged press conference discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including but not limited to offenses involving abuse of office and false claims by a person employed in the public service, contrary to Section 100 and 101 of the Penal Code, Cap 6.3. Order. B. Serious reasons for believing the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under Section 353 and 355 of the Penal Code, Cap 63, that one, Franklin Mithika Linturi, the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, is currently under investigation by the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Director of Criminal Investigations, and is facing arrest, charging, prosecution, and institution of criminal proceedings in relation to 6 pending civil, commercial, and family suits. This discloses grounds that there are serious reasons for believing that the Cabinet Secretary has committed a crime under national law, including, not limited to, offenses involving uttering false documents and procuring execution of documents by false pretenses, contrary to Section 353 and 355 of the Penal Code, Cap 6.3. 3. Gross misconduct. That one, Franklin Mithika Linturi, acting in his role as Cabinet Secretary responsible for the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, approving procurement and distribution of fake fertilizer by the National Cereals and Produce Board, insofar as being a state officer, 1, has failed to exercise public trust in the best interest of the people of Kenya, and this amounts to gross misconduct, contrary to Section 8 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 2, has failed in the performance of his duties to the best of his ability to carry out the duties of the office efficiently and honestly, and to carry out the duties in a transparent and accountable manner, and this amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Sections 10A and B of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 3, has failed to demonstrate professionalism in carrying out duties of the office in a manner that maintains public confidence in the integrity of the office, and this amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 11A of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. 4, misled the public by submitting false information to a departmental committee of the National Assembly that GPC diatomaceous was distributed as a soil conditioner, not as a fertilizer, and this amounts to gross misconduct contrary to Section 29 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Cap 185C. Members who signed to the motion are 110, and their list is attached to the motion. Majority Leader. Who has a point of order? Owen Bayer. What is the point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity to raise a point of orders in the matters that have been raised by the Honorable Wamboka. Honorable Speaker, I would like to start my point of order on Standing Order 89 of our standing orders. Honorable Speaker, if you go to the motion that has been presented ably by the Honorable Wamboka, if you look at page 14 to 16, Honorable Speaker, I will invite you to look at page 14 and 16 of the motion. Page 14 and 16 to of the motion presented, Honorable Speaker, you realize that it is contrary to Standing Order 89. Honorable Speaker, if you look 14 to 16, a lot of the cases that are being referred to are active cases in court, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, the sub judice rule kicks in. And therefore, I would invite you, Honorable Speaker, to look at that and declare that that aspect that is being referred to as not admissible in this motion, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, if you move again on the motion, Honorable Speaker, and you look at Standing Order 90, Standing Order 90, Honorable Speaker, the motion extensively relies on matters that are of personal relation to the member who signs as number 15 on the list. Honorable Speaker, interest should have been declared as under our standing order that the person, the member of parliament signing as number 15 should have, in this case, declared interest in this matter, because the cases referred extensively refers to personal relationship to the member. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I move that we amend the list, or you declare that the list presented to you, Honorable Speaker, be expunged totally, and therefore this motion falls on its face, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you allow me, Honorable Speaker, I would like to move an amendment to that, or you declare it as...
You stood on a point of order. Just prosecute your point of order.
I am prosecuting my point of order, the Honorable Speaker, and I require that you make a ruling on my point of orders. Okay. Honorable Speaker, under Standing Order 87, Honorable Speaker. Standing Order 87, 6. Except as the Speaker may otherwise allow, it shall be out of order for a member to refer to any extract from print or electronic media as an authority in a member's speech. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the motion as laid by my friend, the Honorable Kwamboka, and I will request that you make a ruling on this, Honorable Speaker. If you move from page 11, he refers to electronic. The whole thing is based on electronic print media. If you look at page 11, he refers to Citizen Digital. If you move again, he refers to Nation.media. On page 12, on page 13, Honorable Speaker, he refers, and if you continue, Honorable Speaker, the whole motion is based on extracts from electronic and print media. Honorable Speaker, our standing order 6 does not allow that happens, and therefore this motion, Honorable Speaker, in my preliminary objection on this, Honorable Speaker, under our current standing orders, cannot stand the presence of for it to be tabled here. Honorable Speaker, I would Honorable Speaker, if I may, I want to catch the Speaker's ear.
Yes, Owen.
Yes.
Can you finish your point?
I'm finishing on, I want to refer you again to our Standing Order 87, Honorable Speaker. That some of the acts, Honorable Speaker, that are being alleged to have been committed by the Honorable Mithika Linturi refer to matters that were before he became a cabinet secretary. Matters which were dealt with conclusively at the point when this parliament vetted the Honorable Mithika Linturi. And therefore, our standing orders say that if you look at 87, Honorable Speaker, if a matter has been discussed and dispensed with during a session of Parliament, for which this session refers to, Honorable Speaker, it cannot again be referred to during the same session. And Honorable Speaker, the cases that are referred to here were dealt with. They happened before the Cabinet Secretary was appointed Cabinet Secretary. And again, these matters are being reintroduced in the House. Unless with your express permission, these matters can be introduced. But as it stands now, Honorable Speaker, the motion as presented and I request your judgment on the ruling on this matter, Honorable Speaker, cannot stand to be discussed in this House. I rest my case, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Owen Baya. Order. That point of order should not elicit a trajectory that is unrelated to the motion. On the question of sub judice, you have to demonstrate that any mention of a case that is pending before court in the House will prejudice the possible outcome of that case. And if any member ventures into discussing the merit of any case pending before a court of law, the Speaker, who is a consummate lawyer, will stop that member. On the matter of conflict of interest, you've simply said number 15. You have not mentioned the name. And the number of members required to support the motion was 88. We have 110. So even if you have number 15 out, it makes no difference. So I'll order that the motion continues. Murugara.
All of you. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion, and I do have various reasons why I urge the House to reject this motion. Some of them are purely based on the law, because the motion, in certain respects, does breach statutes, and as such, this House cannot condone a motion that breaches statutes. Mr. Speaker, if you allow me to move, because I have limited time, I wish to draw the attention of the House to the affidavit in support of the motion. The affidavit is sworn by the mover of the motion before a commissioner for oaths. It is also very clear from the motion that the affidavit was drawn by a law firm of Messrs. Brian Kaemba, Kamau and company advocates. It then becomes apparent on the face of the record that the affidavit was commissioned by the same advocate who drew it. That advocate is Mr. Brian Madila Kaemba, who is of the law firm of Brian Kaemba, Kamau and Company. That being the case, then, this affidavit is in direct contravention of the Oaths and Statutory Declarations Act, Chapter 15 of the laws of Kenya. And the offended section is Section 4.1 of that particular act, because it expressly prohibits any person who is administering the oath not to have any interest in the matter. Having done so, then it means the affidavit in support is faulty, and the Speaker has the discretion to expurge it from the record. If that is done, it means then the affidavit and all the supporting documents go with it. If that happens, then it means we have a motion that is not supported by any evidence. The consequence of that is that the motion cannot stand as it is and should actually fail. For that reason, and I do reserve my rights to raise this at any stage, I urge the House to reject this motion for being in contravention of the statute. Number two, it is vitally important that as we debate, we also know that this house is not a guillotine. A guillotine, for those who do not know, was an instrument of execution during the French Revolution, which was in the 18th century. And the purpose of the guillotine was actually to chop off everybody's head when it was brought before that particular tribunal. We must go to what our Constitution says, which is exactly what we have before the House. What does a cabinet secretary do? Because the offenses we have here are all on the allegations of having approved. He made approvals for certain contracts. He made approvals for certain disbursements. He made approvals. The question we ask is this: under our Constitution and the law, who is the accounting officer? Can a cabinet secretary be held responsible for matters that are discharged by an accounting officer? Truly, a cabinet secretary is not an accounting officer. He is not responsible for approvals that have been enumerated here, and as such, we have actually brought the cabinet secretary before this House, where we are now being asked to actually guillotine him. And I urge the House to reject the process of guillotining. We also have been told, in as much as we cannot say the matter is sub judice before Parliament, my submission before the House is that this matter is seized by Parliament, and it is premature. It is premature in that the matter was brought to the House, it was committed to Agriculture Committee, and the Agriculture Committee is still working on it. We are also informed that there are other government agencies that are investigating the matter. The net effect is that the results of these investigations may actually exonerate the cabinet secretary, and therefore, if this House proceeds with the motion as it is, we have the possibility, there is a likelihood of making a premature decision. And this is what we are terming as guillotining. So, honorable members, as we debate, we must also confine ourselves to the provisions of the Constitution, to the provisions of the law, so that we do not execute an unjust matter before the House. What would happen if...
Yes, Otienda Mola, there's a point of order, Murugara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have labored to listen to my chairman make his submissions on this point. And he has made 2 points which essentially question your directions on this matter. He has made submissions on the admissibility of the affidavit. Now he's making submissions on the admissibility of the debate on account of the fact that it's before a committee, which is junior to the House. Is it in order for my chairman, Honorable Murugara, to question your admission of this matter to debate? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, thank you so much. The Speaker's understanding orders. What the Speaker did was to look at the motion as it was presented before him. He may not have gone into the nitty-gritty of how the affidavits and the rest of the evidence was introduced, because he was not required to do so by the Constitution and by the law. It is now during debate when we actually have the opportunity to demonstrate to the House exactly what the loopholes, what the shortfalls are as far as this petition is concerned. What the Speaker is required to do is to glimpse over the grounds, over the affidavit, and confirm that it meets the threshold. That threshold in itself is not conclusive that all the matters that appertain herein have been looked at and have been examined. This is why, and as he rightly says, as the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, I have the responsibility to draw to this House the various statutes which may have been breached. I also have the responsibility to actually draw to the attention of the House if there are any constitutional contraventions. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, before the Agriculture Committee is actually an investigation by this House on, or if not all, most of the matters that are in this petition. So we go to the question, can this House proceed with this motion when actually that investigation is ongoing and a report is awaited? I may not be able to call upon the House, upon the Speaker to make a ruling now, but I call upon the House to reject this particular motion because of the fact that the same matter is seized by the same House and we await the outcome in a parliamentary report that will be tabled here, which we are going to report and in which we will make our recommendations. Mr. Speaker, with those very many remarks, I urge the House, because of the votes in this particular motion, to actually reject it. Thank you. And I do oppose.
Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Speaker.
Order. Minority Leader and Majority Leader, you have 15 minutes each. The rest members, you have 10 minutes. In the event you exhaust your argument under 10 minutes, you should yield the ground to other members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to go straight to the point and from the outset declare that I support the motion. And I want to thank most profusely the initiator of the motion, the Honorable Jack Wamboka, and state that Jack Wamboka, history will be very kind to you. In the fullness of time, when the history of this parliament or of this country is written, you will for sure have something. If not a paragraph, a sentence, at least a footnote for what you've done for the country today. And let me say this, Honorable Speaker, that listening keenly to the submission by Honorable Wamboka and having scrutinized into detail the documents that have been presented, the annexures, and so on and so forth, I am more than convinced that the Cabinet Secretary, the Honorable Mithika Linturi, has actually fallen short of the requirements of the Constitution as a holder of a public office. And indeed, the Honorable Jack Wamboka has clearly drawn a linkage between the conduct of Honorable Linturi and the grounds outlined under Article 152. Under Article 152, sub-Article 4A, if I'm not wrong. Article 152, sub-Article 6, the three grounds upon which a Cabinet Secretary may be subjected to a motion such as this one, Honorable Speaker. And I won't belabor the point. The Honorable Speaker, let me start by saying, again, that the conduct of the Cabinet Secretary as captured, as depicted in the submission by Honorable Wamboka, as depicted, as captured in the documents that have been attached to the motion, clearly point to a situation where the CS has gone against the national values and principles of governance under Article 10, and specifically Article 10, sub-Article 2C. That is national values and principles of governance, including good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability, among other things. Honorable Speaker, a person holding the office of a cabinet secretary is not a small person. The Constitution under Article 152 provides for the cabinet, and we all know the composition of the cabinet. And the cabinet secretary is a member of the cabinet under Article 152. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution goes further. Under Article 152, sub-Article 4A, that each person appointed as a cabinet secretary assumes office by swearing or affirming faithfulness to the people and the Republic of Kenya and obedience to the Constitution, and so on and so forth. But it goes further at Article 153, it goes further, Honorable Speaker, at Article 153, sub-Article 2, to state that CSS are accountable individually and collectively to the President for the exercise of their powers and the performance of their functions. Why am I saying this, Honorable Speaker? That a motion for impeachment, such as this one, is indeed a tool of the last resort all over the world. In all mature democracies, parliaments such as this one resort to impeachment motions, impeachment processes, as an action of last resort. Because the Constitution provides for avenues through which a CS can vacate office under the Constitution. One of them is through dismissal by the appointing authority. Another one is by resignation. The third one is through this process of impeachment. Honorable Speaker, the appointing authority and Honorable Linturi could have saved the time of this House and indeed the country by doing what is necessary. Honorable Linturi by now should have actually voluntarily resigned. Failure to do so, Honorable Speaker, the appointing authority, who is the President of the Republic of Kenya, should have taken the action, the most logical action, and fired Honorable Linturi. But because both Linturi and the President have failed to do what the Constitution requires them to do, this House has got a duty, therefore, under the Constitution, to take the action that it is currently contemplating taking by sending this Cabinet Secretary home, Honorable Speaker. I have looked at the issues which have been raised, Honorable Speaker. It sounds like something from Hollywood, Honorable Speaker. You may think you are watching a movie, that a whole Cabinet Secretary can storm the premises of a private company, that is Kells Chemicals Limited, and direct, in fact, attempt to frog march the management of the company to go and participate in a press conference at the premises of NCPB and take responsibility over something that the Cabinet Secretary is culpable, directly culpable. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, food production, the matter of food security, and I wish honorable members would listen to me. The matter of food security